Look, I have a flight in 3 hours. Like, I'm just transiting here. So I have a valid visa to Japan. What is the issue? And she pointed on my passport where it says Arunachal. And I said, Arunachal, not part of India. No facilities. I mean, it's the airport seats. I told them I'm tired, and as you can see, I'm still coughing. So I was quite under the weather. And I said to them, I feel like throwing up, and they would just like ignore me and walk away.
Joining me on Global Pulse tonight is the woman herself who has been making headlines for the posts that she made recently on social media recounting her nightmare at the Shanghai airport. Prema Thongdok. Thank you so much for joining me on Global Pulse. Let me begin by asking you, the incident that you've narrated in your social media posts is, of course, quite shocking. For the benefit of our viewers, could you please recount exactly what happened at the Shanghai airport? What did the Chinese officials say to you? And how did you finally contact the Indian consulate and leave the airport?
Great. So basically, on the 20th of November, I had a flight booked, a holiday booked in Japan. So I was transiting from London Gatwick Airport to Japan via Shanghai, and so I landed around 5 or 6 a.m. on the 21st of November in Shanghai Airport. Very comfortably went past the e-gates and was queuing up for the security gates when one of the officers singled me out of the queue, the Chinese immigration officers, and took my passport and basically asked me to follow her. So she took me next to the e-gates where the manual counters are for immigration, and I kept asking her, "Oh, look, I have a flight in 3 hours. Like, I'm just transiting here, so I have a valid visa to Japan. What is the issue?" And she pointed on my passport where it says Arunachal. And I said, Arunachal, not part of India. It's China. Passport invalid. And I said, what do you mean? So I said, how can you say my passport is invalid? India passport, no valid, no valid. So basically, they just, she kept on saying that and wouldn't give me a proper answer. And after a couple of minutes, another immigration officer came in. Now, this one was really unprofessional as well as very unruly. And she was just like kind of ignoring my questions, and then she went on to say, why don't you apply for a Chinese passport? This is invalid. Arunachal, no India, it's China. And then she went on to take me to another part of the airport. So I'm not sure if it was the same terminal, the different terminal. And then they took me closer to the China Eastern transfer desk. The Chinese staff very rude at China Eastern. They wouldn't give me a complete answer, and the same thing, they would say, go to the immigration desk. And the immigration desk would say, speak to the airline. So they were just like pushing me around here and there. Then they said, oh, the immigration is going to tell you in some time. We are looking into it. And I'm like, looking into what? Like, I have a valid passport. I've used my Indian passport very successfully everywhere. I'm an ardent traveler. I love traveling. And I've been to 58 countries actually with my Indian passport, where it's a very valid document, and I have been very welcomed by every country that I've ever been to. And the most interesting fact from all of this is the fact that I transited exactly in the same airport, Shanghai Pudong, 1 year ago when I was traveling, I think, to Bali from London via Shanghai, and it was my first time traveling and transiting in Shanghai. So even if I did a quick Google search, which said that you don't need a transit visa for less than 24 hours in China, I thought it's better to just check it just for my own sanity and due diligence. So I did actually call the Chinese embassy and ask them in London, and they said, yeah, of course, 24 hours, there shouldn't be an issue as long as it's below 24 hours. And my connection was, I think, roughly 2 to 3 hours only, so it shouldn't have been an issue. And it actually wasn't an issue in the year 2024, 16th October was my flight from Gatwick to Shanghai. Now, this time around, I don't know why they've singled me out. I have no clue why and on what grounds they have held me, because obviously there is no written law, there is no rule. They didn't give me any written documentation. Everything was just claims. And how can you claim my homeland, where I've lived and been born and brought up all my life, where we speak Hindi, where we sing Janagana Mana, where everything, like the government that we vote for, uh, all the rights, everything is Indian. And we've never heard of the concept of us being part of China. So they obviously were just using claims and harassing me for many, many hours. Their internet doesn't work properly. And even if it does connect, something as basic as Google doesn't work. So I was not able to find the number for the Indian embassy in Shanghai. I couldn't connect with my family. I couldn't connect with my friends. Nobody knew where I was. So after a lot of trial and, just waiting. So for the first 4 hours, I just keep going up to them. What's happening? Can you give me an update? What's happening? Why are you holding me in my flight? You just made me miss my flight. It was in 3 hours. What's happening? Why are you holding me back? And ultimately, like I kind of gave up for the next 5 6 hours. I was just waiting there, so tired, without any food, not even being provided a glass of water. But they said, oh, there is a dispenser near the toilets, you can go there. Quite nauseous, actually, because 12-hour flight from London, and I had set off quite early from London, so I hadn't slept the previous night as well. Can't sleep really well on the long haul flight. And they kept me on hold in the transfer desk area in Shanghai for quite a long time. So after, I think, about 8 to 10 hours is when I said to them, look, like, I need to speak to someone. This is ridiculous. Like, my family doesn't know. I need a lawyer. I need to speak to someone. You need to give me something. So the transfer desk gave me the landline, which I used to call my friends in London. And basically they gave me the phone number of the Chinese embassy, and that's when I contact the Indian embassy in China, basically. And as soon as I contacted, very grateful to IFS sir, Mr. Rajat, and his team. Basically, they reached the airport within an hour of speaking to them. They got me food, and they tried to reason. So um, to be honest, the Chinese transfer desk and the immigration were like, go back to your country or go back to UK. They wouldn't take no for an answer. I said, on what grounds are you stopping me from going on my onward journey to Japan? They just wouldn't be ready to have an engagement. They would just like dismiss me. At one point of time, there was like four officials from the staff in front of me in the desk, two immigration officers behind me. And I was like, what's the problem? Can you all tell me, like, why are you holding me back? This is a valid document. And they just like speak among themselves and mock and laugh and say, Arunachal, China, China, not India. So that kind of mockery and harassment and obviously humiliation kept going with all of their staff. And ultimately, when the Indian embassy officials came, they tried to reason with them, but they just wouldn't listen. So they didn't let me take an onward flight. The only recourse was to fly back to UK, which was 12 hours. And obviously I was not willing to do that because I was really tired. And so the other option was to obviously to go back to India or show them the tickets that I'm basically, what they need is proof that I am flying out of Shanghai back to India. Um, so a lot of trial and tribulation there, and the IFS officers said that they're not letting you go forward to Japan or anywhere else. You let's just look for the cheapest flights out of here and show them proof that you're going to India. And then basically, and even when I did, so firstly, I don't know why I'm being forced not to take my holiday and go forward to Japan. And secondly, even if I agreed to at my own expense, because secondly, like, if they are trying to send me back, they should be paying for it. The Chinese government should pay for it. But no, they wanted me to pay for it myself. And also the fact that they restricted the airline that I use. Now, the first and foremost, coincidentally, is Chinese airline, the China Eastern, is the exact airline that I flew in from London. So if they had an issue, they looked at my passport and they issued me my boarding pass. So if there was a law that said Arunachal Pradesh residents or born Indians cannot transit from Shanghai, why did you board me? Like, you could have told me and just ignored this whole. We could have avoided this entire situation. So quite I would say very the carelessness or the negligence or lack of due diligence from China Eastern Airline. If after reaching Shanghai they say my passport is invalid when they issued uh, the boarding passes for me from London, having checked my passport, having checked my name, my place of birth, my passport number, the fact that it's a Indian document which they claimed in Shanghai to be invalid. So all of that ordeal, and somehow in the end, we just looked for flights out of there, and I had to book. And especially when I said to them, "Look, there are so many flights to India from here. I can transit anywhere and leave in the next 1 or 2 hours." They wouldn't take no for an answer. It has to be China Eastern only. So that's like seriously bullying and harassing an Indian citizen on no grounds, on no written rules. There is no rule that they could give me. There is no written document. There is no law that they could show me. It was purely harassment and simply claims made by the Chinese airline and the immigration staff. And ultimately we booked a flight. I booked a flight from Shanghai to India, transiting in Bangkok, and that's how I got out of there.
Well, hard to imagine how annoying really all of this must have been for you, Prema. Now, China has defended the actions of the immigration officials. In a provocative statement, they have said that Beijing doesn't recognize the so-called Arunachal Pradesh that's illegally set up by India. The Chinese Foreign Ministry has also claimed that the officials never mistreated you. There was no harassment or detention. They offered you food and proper facilities. Do you want to respond to that?
No facilities. I mean, it's the airport seats. I told them I'm tired, and as you can see, I'm still coughing. So I was quite under the weather. And I said to them, I feel like throwing up. And they would just like ignore me and walk away. I said to them, I need some water. They said, there is a dispenser, get it yourself. I want to buy some food. No, you cannot leave this area. It wasn't. I asked them, you don't have to pay for it. I have a American Express card. I have free lounge passes. I want to use the lounge because I'm really tired. You're holding me here with no proper grounds and no proper documentation, no laws of the land that says that Indian passport is invalid. And they would just not take no for an answer. I mean, I was just sat there in the normal seats that you have in the airport. That isn't a waiting room. That isn't giving me proper facilities. And even offering me a bottle of water was not within their intention. All they offered me was mockery, abuse, and laughing at my passport. Um, Obviously, the Chinese ministry, the lady who spoke, is completely lying. I mean, there is. I was there. She wasn't there. I experienced it firsthand, and to be honest, the fact that they said that it was their staff only followed normal procedure proves the fact that I was in fact in Shanghai and I was being detained. So in fact, they have validated and confirmed the statement that that their staff and their immigration did hold me back there. So firstly, this is great for India because we are now getting confirmation from China themselves. And secondly, the grounds on which everyone is saying that I'm alleging that the Chinese are that I have alleged that the Chinese stopped me on grounds that Arunachal is claimed by China to be part of China instead of India. She again confirmed the same statement by saying that Arunachal is part of China. So in fact, she's doing us a favor. I mean, the Chinese have just shot themselves in their own foot by agreeing to everything that I. In fact, what they've done is changed my allegations into fact.
There is no doubt about that, Prema. Now, India has responded sharply to the incident, saying they have taken it up strongly with China. Are you satisfied with this response by the Indian government? What more would you want them to do?
I think, see, my purpose is not here to cause any issue or to cause any problems between our countries. Obviously, it's a very harrowing incident. I could have just let it go as a bad experience. Because when you travel, and I travel quite a lot, like I said, you have good and bad experiences. But here the question was about my nationality. They ridiculed and invalidated my country's passport. They've called a part of my home country's land to be theirs. So for me, it's more about bringing that awareness, which is essential, because I know a lot of India is full of very skilled, highly skilled immigrants and who travel a lot for work or even for leisure with their families. So and foremost, my idea here is not to create any disturbance between the peace in this world. It's just that I want to bring that awareness to our Indian citizens so that they rethink before transiting or even thinking of a holiday in China. And secondly, especially for the Arunachal born residents, because I don't even live in India. If anything changes and the government takes strict actions, it's for the benefit of Indians and Arunachal residents of India, that these government actions will impact. So in fact, it's more of an awareness for my country's citizens. And secondly, obviously, it was an insult to India's sovereignty, and to have our land outrightly claimed by another country. So I wanted to bring that awareness. And obviously, on such important diplomatic and geopolitical level, I have no right to say I cannot move borders. Me agreeing to the Chinese when they say to me, it's part of my country, or it's part of India. It's not within my realm. I know, as a resident and as a Arunachal born citizen, that I am Indian, a very proud Indian, and will continue to be so. So just classifying wrongly and harassing someone is on false claims rather than facts is unacceptable. So any steps that our government takes in this regard, because it's about our land. So anything that the government takes strict actions against the Chinese, I would be happy with. I'm not even here forcing or asking for a compensation at this point. All I want is basically the truth to be out, and for future travel for my fellow citizens to be safer, and mainly awareness so that they don't get stuck in. I mean, it's quite disturbing that on the first round, um, they say, in fact, it's out there on their website as well, 24 hours transit for any country is allowed through China, which they have gone back on their own words, a written confirmation on their website as well, that you can transit. And secondly, to just basically harass a citizen, someone who actually isn't even resident in the country, for something that's a very diplomatic issue, where I don't have a say at. Like, they if they really want to have this discussion and look at the borders of my country, they should discuss this with the higher ups, with the Indian government, and not harass normal citizens.
That is absolutely a valid point that you're making, Prema. Now, Chinese officials suggested that you apply for a Chinese passport. And then, of course, that was followed by hours of harassment. Well, this is an insult to every Indian citizen. Do you believe this incident comes as a reminder of how people from Northeast India have to suffer because of China's territorial aggression?
Absolutely, I would agree to that. I mean, just because, I look Asian doesn't mean I belong to China. In fact, when I travel, a lot of people think I'm from Japan. They think I'm from Vietnam. They think I'm from Korea. Everywhere. I mean, just because you look like a particular set of people from a certain part doesn't mean you are actually from there. So to enforce that and to tell me, well, you're Chinese, you should apply for a Chinese passport. Now, that was obviously a mockery and just something they said fleetingly, but it's such an important issue. Like, how can you um, force someone on their nationality when they know and have been all their lives Indian? So yeah, I mean, it's been quite a harrowing experience, but I hope the government takes some steps in this so that in the future Indians don't suffer such consequences.
Would you say, Prema, that this incident is also a reminder of how a country like China cannot really be trusted, despite the thaw that we've seen in India-China ties in recent months? What would you say to the Indian government at this point in time and to other Indians living in the Northeast who have to live with this discrimination thanks to China's expansionism?
See, I'm in no place to kind of like comment as to what the government should do or say, but obviously all I can do is request the government that, to have safer, more, I guess, stringent rules or around how our country's demarcation is. In fact, when I was looking at the map as well, of India and looking at Arunachal actually has a dotted line, uh, as if we are not part of India. So that kind of was an emotional moment for me, because when I was trying to prove to them as well and I tried to open the map, and there wasn't um, the like a proper demarcation of Arunachal. So I don't know if it's a problem with Google, or I don't know what that is, that it shows as if we are not part of India. I would prefer that we have a full borderline or across Arunachal rather than have a dotted line to look like we are part of India. Um, but yes, I mean, I would just request that basically for such matters to be taken more seriously. And yes, I think Chinese officials are lying very blatantly, because I was there firsthand, and I know the experience that I went through. And if they doubt any of that, like, they could open up the CCTV camera and have a look at it to see if I was there for 18 hours or not.
Well, you should certainly not have had to go through this ordeal. Nobody really deserves this. Let's certainly hope that this issue is taken up with China in the strongest possible terms. On that note, Prema, thank you so much for speaking to us on Global Pulse.